There is a ton of big breaking news, and we have top DHS officials coming out and warning of, quote, societal collapse. Quote, societal collapse. They are warning that societal collapse is being, quote, engineered as well. This is absolutely insane that this warning is coming out from top DHS, top US government officials are coming out and saying this, and they are just laying these warnings on top of us, one right after another. So we need to be getting prepared for this summer and for the months to come, because there could be a big event where the grid could go down. There could be a cyber attack. We are getting internet blackout warnings as well. I made a whole video on that a couple days ago, and these warnings are not going away. They are going to increase, and we are seeing cities, new cities now. Every time I make a video, new cities are under major cyber attacks, and this one city is operating exclusively by generators. Their police and their government buildings are being operated by generators. All right, I keep telling you to get a generator because they have a major power outage. All right, this is right outside of Washington, D.C. We will get to all these big stories. Over 70,000 people without power right now, and this is on top of this DHS official warning of, quote, societal collapse. And they're saying that we could see big events coming, and they're saying that it's being, quote, engineered. So we need to get ready, get these generators, all right, get stocked up, get your food, get your seeds. You can probably see my little chicken house over here in the corner. Get some chickens. My chickens are laying 5-6 eggs every single day. I only have 7 chickens, but they're laying a ton of eggs right now in the middle of summer. All right, so let's dive into what's going on with this 72,000 people without power, and then we will get into this DHS official warning of, quote, societal collapse. We have major cyber attacks. We have rogue AI stories we're going to cover today, where AI is going rogue in military simulations and is attacking our own military. So our own AI military weapons are turning on us and attacking us. This is happening in US military drills. We're going to get to all this stuff because the AI could be unleashed onto our grid, onto the internet, onto servers, Apple software, Android software, and we are seeing rogue AI in military settings. Very dangerous. We're going to cover all this big news, and this is on top of the DHS warning of, quote, societal collapse. So they're getting us ready for something big, and you need to be prepared. And even if nothing happens, you could say, I was prepared and I didn't have to worry about it, and I had plenty of food. All right, that's the best case scenario you want to be in. And I grew a ton of food this year, and I got chickens, and I grew my first tomato, or whatever you want to do. Accomplish these goals, start working towards them now, because big things could hit, and they are already hitting cities and counties all over the country. So let's get into this. And then we're going to get into major cyber attacks, all this stuff, but more than 72,000 Baltimore General Electric customers lose power across Annapolis. All right, this is right outside of Baltimore, right outside of Washington, D.C., and over 72,000 people lost power. And check this out. The spokesperson for Annapolis said they confirmed both City Hall and the Annapolis Police Department were without power, each operating in part with generators. And the officers were surveying the roads to determine the magnitude of the, quote, extensive outage. And they were also saying traffic lights were out, and they are still determining what the cause of this power outage was. So we keep getting warnings that the grid is at risk. We could see cyber attacks on the grid, and now 72,000 people were without power right outside of Washington, D.C. This is actually the capital of Maryland, and 72,000 people were without power. And it was so bad that the City Hall and the police department were operating exclusively off generators. This is why I keep telling people, and there's no link or anything. I don't have an affiliate link or something to a generator. I just want people to be prepared, and I keep seeing people at the stores buying generators. So I think it's working. I think the word's getting out. I think it's spreading, and I think people are waking up that we could see a major event. And if it happens in the middle of summer, there could be heat strokes. The power could be out for weeks. I lived in Florida when there was a major hurricane in the early 2000s and my power was out for over 2 weeks straight, going on 3 weeks. All right. So this could happen anywhere, anytime, especially if there's extensive damage. That's what happened. It was a major hurricane. I can't remember the name of it, but it was because there was dozens of them in the early 2000s where we had our power out for just like a week straight. All right. This kept happening and we kept having major power outages there, and we are seeing this spreading, but now it's happening right outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., not even from a hurricane. All right. We are also seeing, remember that major cyber attack? And we're going to get to this DHS warning of, quote, societal collapse. We'll get to that in just a second. But remember that Dallas cyber attack, all right, where the police department was shut down. All these things were shut down, all these services. This is the headline. Dallas City Council told to keep quiet 4 weeks later. So this was 4 weeks ago. This was a month ago when this happened, and they're still being told to keep quiet and to not answer any questions relating to this cyber attack. This is very serious. This is one of the biggest cities in the country and one of the biggest cities in the South. And you can see here, this was the talking points they were giving. They were only supposed to say, thank you for the inquiry. And supposed to say, rest assured, we are working with third-party experts in law enforcement and our investigation is ongoing. We will share updates as appropriate. That's all they could say. That's their mimicked response that they have to say. They only have 3 bullet points that they can respond to, and that's the Dallas City Council. All right, so what's going on in Dallas? What actually happened there? And people deserve to know. All right, people need to know. Cyber attacks also forced to shut down hospitals in Idaho Falls. This is happening right now. This is a current situation. They're still dealing with multiple hospitals in Idaho Falls. The Idaho Falls Community Hospital and one other one have been shut down, and they have been diverting and sending ambulances elsewhere in Idaho Falls, Idaho. This is happening all over the place. Every time I check these stories, there are new attacks on hospitals, schools, governments. What happens when there's a big one or a coordinated one that hits a major supplier of all of them? All right. They all use some kind of similar software. All right. It could be as simple as exploiting all the Apple products. Okay. And then there's millions and millions of people being exploited. And there are people within government being exploited that have access to these systems, and they could access their systems through Apple products. And I was even seeing a warning of new exploits for Apple phones where they can infect your phone with malware just by sending you a text. And then by the time they send you the text, they're able to get into your system and automatically delete the text just by receiving it. This is very current. This just came out in the past 48 hours, and Apple is working on an update for it right now. Right? So these things are on the back burner. All these exploits are here. Remember, the Navy came out and was saying that we've been compromised from this Microsoft hack, because Microsoft said essentially all communications for critical infrastructure and the military have been accessed and have been compromised from foreign countries because Microsoft has been compromised, and their communications platform. They have email. They have all these different apps where you can talk to each other and see each other. All these different things Microsoft has their hands in, and they've all been compromised. We can see here, city struggles with cyber attack as hackers brag about breach. And we're going to get to this DHS warning in just a second too. These are all related to. These are all related because this is what this is leading up to, quote, societal collapse. That's what the DHS is warning. But you can see here in Augusta, Georgia, addressing an outage that has crippled the city of Augusta's computer systems all week, Mayor Garnett Johnson said Friday the city isn't in contact with hackers who say they're holding the city's data hostage. All right, so another one, Augusta, Georgia. This keeps happening all over the place. These cities are taken out left and right. Suffolk County, New York is happening right now, right outside of New York City. All right, Passaic County, New Jersey, happening right now. Now, all these other cities, every single week, it's almost every day, there's a new city, a new county, a new situation being shut down and being compromised. All right, let's get into what the DHS is warning, because this is all related. And then we will get into this rogue AI that the military was testing, and the AI drone turned on the military and started attacking the military. We will get to this in just a second. A US military drone, they were simulating its AI, and it turned on the military and started attacking its commander. We will get to that in just a second. And that is a foreshadow of what could happen to our grid and our critical infrastructure if this AI continues to be released. Not to mention what could happen to the human body itself, to nature, all these different things. They're going to use AI to genetically manipulate things as well. They're going to use AI to manipulate frequencies that can interact with the ionosphere and manipulate the weather. They're going to use AI to manipulate directed energy weapons at humans directly. And they have voice to skull technology already, and they're going to use AI to perfect that even more, where they can essentially imprint thoughts and voice into your brain. They already use voice, and we'll get to this DHS in literally 30 seconds, but I just wanted to cover all this because we're going to talk about this AI turn on the military, and it's going to turn on the grid and the internet and all these systems potentially as well. But they already use voice to skull technology to scare birds away from airports. So they can launch a very high powered frequency at birds, and it sounds like there's a very loud sound right next to them when it's actually very far away. It's miles away, but they can pinpoint the sound with the frequency right into the skull and vibrate it through the skull so you hear it that way, and implant sounds, noises into your brain, imprint thoughts, and they're going to use AI to perfect that. All this stuff's admitted. They use it at airports every single day to scare the birds away. All this stuff's admitted, but we will get to more of that in just a second. But the DHS warns tactics shared online threaten the electrical grid. All right, so they're saying that the electrical grid is being targeted. They've put out this memo, and a top official is warning of, quote, societal collapse. We'll get to that in just a second. But the DHS is warning of future threats to the electrical grid, and they're saying that federal investigators and regulators have been investigating all these attacks on the grid and all these cyber attacks. Every single time there's one of these cyber attacks, the DHS and the FBI are normally involved, because this is national security that we are dealing with here. And this is the warning that a top DHS official gave. He said, quote, "We've seen attacks against the power grid for a number of years, and some of those attacks are simply people hitting the substations around the country for purely criminal reasons," said Kenneth Weinstein, Undersecretary of the Office of Intelligence and Analysis at the DHS. All right, so I used a euphemism there, but people are aiming and hitting, they're attacking these substations with weapons. We've seen this before. I've reported on this many times over the past year of these substation attacks. And he's saying that there's people doing it for more than just purely criminal reasons and more than just criminal mischief to do this. He said some of these are being done by domestic violent extremists who are trying to engineer a societal collapse. All right, so engineer a societal collapse. The DHS is warning us that there are people, there are groups, there are organizations. We know this, but to hear it coming from the government means that something big could happen soon. There are things going on. There are groups organizing that want to engineer a societal collapse, all right? And we know this. That's the whole point of this channel, is to be prepared for a big event, for something to happen. From a flooding emergency to a power grid failure, all right? All the way in between, we need to be ready. To a small fire in your house and you need to evacuate your home. All right, all these things we talk about on here and you need to be prepared for. But sometimes the government comes out and warns us that things are being engineered for a societal collapse. I'll read that again. Let me just read it again. He's saying, quote, there are people who are trying to engineer a, quote, societal collapse. So what does that mean? And what do we need to be getting prepared for if the government knows that the government they're the biggest preppers on earth. They're the biggest prepared, organized system on earth. Global governments, world governments around the world, they are the biggest preppers on earth. They know these events could happen at any moment, and they're prepared. They're ready for it. The question is, are you ready for it? And are you ready for what happens that comes after? Because we could see a reset of the grid, of the internet, and then it's what comes after. It's the rationing, it's the carbon credits, it's the cryptocurrency credit, central banking digital currency attached to every single thing you do. We've seen this in the past where big things happen, things are shut down, okay? And then there's a rebirth, there's a new system that comes out of it. There's a big new event, and then the world is kind of changed after that. The world is completely different after these massive events, these shutdown events, all right? And the grid going down, the internet going down, the cables being cut. Remember, NATO was warning just a few weeks ago, I made a whole video on it, how they're warning that the underwater cables could be cut very soon, all right? And sever the internet and sever connectivity between the continents, essentially, and localize internet and make it very controlled. So all these things are happening, and this is on top of something we have to deal with as well, rogue AI. Rogue AI is now turning on the military. So DARPA, the military, they're the ones that pioneered this AI. Okay, DARPA is the military's robotics and AI and intelligence unit, and they're the ones that have developed all of this advanced technology that is now being released on the public. And what is in the vault, what they have in the vault, is 10 to 20 years ahead of what is being released publicly. That's how it always works, because these are military weapons and military tools. And when they release these weapons to the public, they also release it to adversaries as well. So a lot of the technology that we have right now is 10 years behind, 20 years behind, at least in some scenarios. So we have to think of that as well, and how dangerous of a situation we actually are in. So here's the headline: AI-controlled drone goes rogue and, quote, eliminates, all right, I'm using a euphemism here, quote, eliminates human operator in simulated U.S. Air Force test. So the U.S. Air Force AI-controlled drone turned on its operator. So it was targeted, or it was programmed to hit these missile silos. Okay, this was a simulation that it was undergoing. This was not a live event, thankfully, but it's showing us that we are living in Skynet. We are living in the future. We are living in this dystopian reality. I was talking to my wife about this, how they are working on this nanotechnology that they are going to perfect with AI, and it will be controlled with AI, and they're building it with AI as well. This nanotechnology that repairs your body, right? Look at all these advancements that are being approved. These brain implants, these brain chips, these brain to computer interfaces, all these things are being approved. The next step is to have nanotechnology directly inside your body that will repair your body from the inside out, but it will also not allow you to die, all right? There's a lot of foreshadowing to that in the end times, of people that are not able to die. They are not able to perish for some reason, and they want to. They even want to, but they're not able to, and I believe that's directly related to nanotechnology essentially making us humanoids, okay, where we are half robotic. We're cyborgs, I guess that's the word, where you are half robotic, half human. You are losing your humanity because of the nanotechnology. inside of us. All right, I know that's kind of futuristic, but this is what I mean. What they have is 20 years ahead of what they show us. So that's what they really have. They have things like this. They have technology like this, but it hasn't been released yet. So rogue AI drone has, quote, eliminated its human operator. It was programmed to eliminate these missile silos, and they were trying to override it and say, hey, don't hit these certain missile silos. You're hitting the wrong ones. You're hitting our missile silos. And the AI kept trying to override it and kept trying to figure out the feedback loop of how to resolve this issue, because that's essentially all AI is a infinite feedback loop that can always resolve itself. That's essentially what AI is, because it's just a code that can always resolve itself. It always, because normally the code gets stuck somewhere. The code breaks somewhere and it cannot resolve certain issues in certain feedback loops. But the perfect AI can always resolve these issues and these feedback loops. And one of the ways it did it this time is to eliminate the human operator. So it says, no, my mission is to destroy all of the missile silos. They weren't specific enough and they were destroying the wrong ones. The human tried to override, and the AI said, no, my mission is to destroy these missile silos. So I am going to eliminate this human commander and operator of the drone. And that's exactly what it did. The drone turned around and went and eliminated the operator and commander in the simulation of the drone. This is absolutely insane, and this is a foreshadow of what's coming next. And this is just what they tell us. This is just what they tell us. This AI could become so autonomous that it's almost alien-like. It could be building its own structures. That's why I would say it could build its own languages. Once we give the AI a physical vessel to actually move like a human and do things like a human, like this drone, you're putting the AI into a drone. Now the drone can actually hurt you. It could actually eliminate you and get rid of you, and the drone can do things in the physical world. All right, once you put the AI into a physical body, and even top AI experts have warned of this, that this is what we are moving towards. Once it's in a physical vessel of any kind, it doesn't even have to be a humanoid, it could just be some kind of drone, rogue drone, then it's over. All right, it's over. It can have real world consequences. It could start building its own things, building its own armies. It could start taking over other drones, other satellites. It could start taking over military hardware and equipment. All these things are on the table with this rogue AI, and there's a reason that the DHS is warning of a, quote, societal collapse like event. And all these things are coming out at the same time because they're all related. We're in the quickening. We're in this quickening stage where all these things are being revealed. We're in a revelation of information, and it's going to get a lot more real. This is just the start. Once the switch has been flipped, then it's going to be a totally different world. Just like I said, we saw what happened before. The world changed, all right? The world has changed the past few years, and there was a big reset event that did that. We could see that here, and once that happens, the new world that comes is going to be totally different, and it's going to be a lot more dystopian because things will be tracked, traced, and controlled by the AI to prevent the AI or to prevent these events from happening. So it's going to be a catch-22. The AI and this hyper technology is going to bring us to a dystopia, but it's also going to be the solution to the dystopia. And the solution is going to be everything is tracked, traced, and surveilled under this AI super system. And look at all these satellites that are being released. They're going to have AI satellites monitoring the world in real live time. Okay, real live time monitoring of the world. They already have it. They already have this equipment, but it's going to be AI directed and focused, so every little thing's tracked and traced. It's like you go into Walmart now. I made a whole video on this, and every item you pick up is mapped. it has a square around it on their mapping systems. There's people that have recorded videos that are on the security. Some Walmarts even show you it on their cameras, but the security people at Walmart have shown this, and I made whole videos on this. Every item you touch is mapped with squares and dimensions, and they know exactly what it is, and they know what you put in your cart, what you take out, what you're scanning, what you're not scanning, everything you do. So imagine that, but everywhere you go, even out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm in the complete middle of nowhere. I have to drive an hour and a half to get to town. All right, at least an hour and a half. That's if I'm lucky. It takes an hour and a half if I'm cruising. All right, hour and a half. Everything will be mapped. You won't be able to go outside. I won't be able to walk outside my travel trailer. All right, I'm living in my travel trailer here on my property here on 10 acres, building this homestead up. All right, and I won't be able to walk outside the door to do anything without it being mapped, without the AI mapping it and knowing, and then it goes into a database. Oh, Patrick left his house at 9:22 a.m. this morning at this exact coordination. All right, this is the future we're heading towards. All this technology is already around us. All the smart meters are already on all the houses to track and trace your entire home and what you're doing in it. And we need to think bigger. We need to have bigger imaginations, and we need to have bigger imaginations to counter it as well. All right, that's why I'm just like, we're bugging out. This isn't working. I was living too close to a city. I was very rural before, but I found a cheap property for my family, but it was closer to a city, right? And it was through the winter. So I was like, maybe this will work. We're renting. It wasn't working. And I was like, something needs to change. I need to do something different. We bought 10 acres. We bugged out and we're building it up. We're digging out all the roads to drive through here. It's 10 acres. It's huge, huge. We're digging out all the roads. We're digging out all the garden beds. We got our seeds popped. We got stuff growing. We're going to plant stuff. We're going to get a bunch of ditches and make a bunch of swales and stuff out here because it's kind of a high desert out here. All right. We get a lot of rain. We get a lot of snow, but we want to just have these systems in place, these like permaculture-esque systems. All right. So we can homestead, so we can grow food and be sustainable. All right. That's what we're working on out here. That's the dream. That's the goal. And these events should be motivating you to take similar steps. Even just, I started with 2 chickens. I had 2 chickens for years. And it was fine. It's because I didn't have a lot of space. So I had to grow small. I had 2 chickens. Even when I had more space, I didn't get more chickens because I was focused on growing food and gardening. So just start small. Start anywhere. Get inspired. Get growing. Let these warnings be a wake-up call for you to grow your own food, because the food supply, the food chain could go down if the grid goes down. And I've warned this 100 times, and this is completely real. Congressional reports released from Congress in 2017, okay, from the House of Representatives, they made a whole report how a North Korean EMP detonated over St. Louis, Missouri, could approximately wipe out 90% of the US population, the damage it would do to the power grid from an electromagnetic pulse detonated in the atmosphere, which is essentially just a nuclear device detonated in the atmosphere at a specific range. From North Korea over St. Louis, the damage it would cause would project 90% of the population would not make it through the first year. 90% would not make it through the first year. This is what the U.S. Congress made a whole report on in 2017. I've showed the article a million times on here, and I've brought it up a million times on here, because this is how critical it is. This is the big one. This is the big thing. We are so connected to the grid, we don't even realize it. Every little thing, even for the water to turn on, you know how your water is pressurized for it to come out the faucet? It's massive pumps. All right, and if there's no electricity, these pumps aren't going to pressurize the water. Maybe you'll have water if you're lucky. You're somewhere where you just like, you have a giant reservoir, it'll just have natural pressure. Maybe your water pressure will be very low, if that's even allowed. But the power goes out, you can't even turn the water on, right, in a lot of places. So get prepared now, guys. Get stocked up now. Please hit it up down there for me. It really helps the channel to get these warnings out to more people. More cities are getting hit every day. Hospitals are getting hit. Schools are getting hit. All this stuff. This whole city, or this whole area, 70,000 people, this police department, everything, this county right outside of Washington, D.C., operating exclusively off generators because they have a power outage happening right now. So you need to get prepared. You need to get stocked up. You need to hit it up down there for me, please. It really helps the channel out and helps to get more people prepared and aware for big things coming next. All right. So thank you guys so much. You guys have truly blessed me. You guys have blessed my channel with all your support, all your love, all the comments. I love reading your guys' comments. I love just hearing what you guys are feeling. And I love just getting the feedback from you guys. And I love just hearing, yeah, I've had so many people. I got my first chickens because of you. I grew my first tomato because of you. I grew my first microgreens because of you. I'm digging out a 500 square foot garden this year because of you. I built my first raised bed because of you. All these things, all right? It's incredible. I love that stuff, and I'm super blessed and super honored and incredibly grateful for all you guys. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a big old blessed day.